Hello and welcome to the Permaculture Herbalism segment of the Elder Tree podcast. I am your host, Tennille Christensen from Earth Mama, where I teach people how to thrive and get skilled for sustainability. As an educator, kitchen witch, and plant lover, I welcome you to tune in as I interview permaculturalists from around the world. We will learn holistic ways of integrating plants into our homes, gardens, and communities for healing. Together, we will explore the art and science of this regenerative design system and harvest the collective wisdom. Permaculture offers a pathway to empower people to develop their lifestyles and landscapes. So let's discover how to grow and know plants with a purpose. Robin Clayfield is a permaculture pioneer, educator, facilitator, and best-selling author who is passionate about healthy groups, organizations, and communities, their structures and governance, and most importantly, their facilitation and group dynamics. She presents and consults around the world to support global health, group and personal well-being, and whole systems change through using permaculture, social permaculture, deep ecology, and her dynamic groups, dynamic learning methodology. Robin loves ritual and ceremony and supporting people to have their own deep experience of nature, cycles and patterns, rites of passage, transformation, and celebration. She also loves and nurtures a permaculture garden and 1-acre lot at Crystal Waters Ecovillage, where she's happily lived for 35 years. In this conversation, Robin and I speak openly about her pioneering days as an activist and her role in social permaculture. So what that looks like in her work and the special offerings that she brings. And this includes a 5-part series of books which are soon to launch. I have personally attended her courses and I utilize her very practical resources as helpful tools when providing either group facilitation, dynamic decision making, and as well as any time I'm teaching permaculture. So if you've been to any of my courses, you will certainly have seen her permaculture card deck set. And in the invisible realms, I'm using a lot of the processes that she has taught me as well. We can thank her for bringing the spirit care ethic to join the earth care, people care, and fair share ethics that are embodied in the framework of permaculture design. We also speak about turmeric. It's one of her must-have herbal plants for any home garden, and she even gives us her golden milk recipe. It's got a secret ingredient that I've never put in mine, and other kitchen witching ways that she regularly utilizes plants from her garden, including moringa, goticola, brahmi, galangal, and she shares her go-to first aid herbs. I just want to say here too that the information or the knowledge that I've gained through her courses has had a direct impact in our community here. It's not something that we discussed in the interview, but I wanted to bring light to it in this introduction. And that is with the dynamic decision making. So I have do provide facilitation processes for groups of people to come together and work on a common goal, but really interestingly, how you can use creative processes to make decisions. And so if you've ever been out to Koa, to the Sports and Rec Club there is a nature playground. And it was with what I learned in the dynamic decision making and dynamic learning course that I did with her that allowed me to come back and do 3-part series with community engagement to help articulate and pull together the ideas so community all could dream up and vision what they wanted and then get clear and prioritize. And then we got the funding together. So we were able to install the nature playground, and I want to honor and give thanks to the skills that I was able to bring based on those courses I did with her. So listen in, we're going to talk about rituals and ceremonies, her annual labyrinth making installation, and how sacred ecology continues to be a source of inspiration and inclusion in many of her offerings. What is even special is that she has kindly permitted me to share an elemental prayer aptly called Thank You for the Five Sacred Things, and I will read that out at the end of our interview. So I hope you enjoy listening to this wise woman as much as I did. Welcome, Robin Clayfield. I have been counting down the days to have this interview with you. You have been such an inspirational teacher in my permaculture journey, especially in the social permaculture realm. I use your resources in all of my courses, and I just want to dive into this and ask you all of these questions, and for you to share your life and all of the amazing pathways that you've taken, the diversity of different ways that you apply permaculture to your life. So thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks to Neil. I'm excited too. This is going to be great.
Awesome. So let's go for the first question, which is, why is permaculture an important aspect of your life?
Well, I guess it changed my life when I did my permaculture design course. This November it will be 40 years, 1983, since I did my course. And I was quite a young woman in those days, 25, and it helped me turn my life around into a way that I could say yes to things and be positive about things. I'd come through my uni time being pretty depressed about the state of the world, and I didn't feel like I fitted into the world because I was environmentally, politically, socially aware and um, a young activist, I guess. We were in those days marching down the streets of Melbourne trying to stop uranium mining, and in my student activism kind of phase I was part of student rights where we were trying to stop them introducing compulsory fees for students, tertiary students, and things like that. So when I did, I'd been jumping up and down and saying no a lot. Doing the permaculture course helped me say yes to things and be able to propose solutions. So very quickly after I did my course, I ended up helping to save a forest in northern New South Wales out the back of Mullumbimby in the early 80s, and also stopping Byron Shire Council ocean outfalling their sewage, or at least putting in a second ocean outfall system and things like that. So that they weren't saying no to things, it was really saying yes to things. Even with the forestry action, we were getting the local sawmillers on side and proposing alternatives. So there was lots of jobs for people in the industry and things like that. Anyway, that's just an example. And it became really part of all aspects of my life when I chose to move to Queensland and be part of Crystal Waters Permaculture Village when it was just in the planning phases. I bought into the plan in the mid 80s and moved here in 88 when we were able to come and take up our lots here. So for 35 years, this month actually, since I moved to Crystal Waters, 35 years I've had a 1 acre lot at Crystal Waters where it's obviously because I've always been into permaculture. It's got quite a wild permaculture jungle type garden because we are in the subtropics, so it does get a bit junglish. And we've also got a license area around the edge of our lot too, of another acre which we get to look after, which is part of our common land here. And so, really we're, growing a lot of our own food, growing fibre because I love to weave, growing our own firewood. Obviously, like a chainsaw is one of our most important tools, I'm embarrassed to say, but it's very necessary.
Appropriate technology.
Yeah, yeah, I guess we went from, things that mow down grass and brush cutters to now needing chainsaws. Um, we're doing our best at the moment to get a bit more water secure and fire safe. Those kind of things are really important in this changing climate. Built our own buildings and compost toilets, hand-built Clivus minimus toilets. We've got 2 of them here on our lot, mostly off-grid. make our own compost, all those kind of things. And often have woofers and volunteers come and help us out and just stay for a while and learn. So I guess a lot of my permaculture life it has all those physical aspects of permaculture implementation in them, but it also for me it's very much part of a social permaculture journey where I guess the land that I'm on, we call it Kudamallami. That's our name for our little 1 acre lot, and it means many hands. And so there's lots of
Mm.
people who have helped us over the time. And my partner and I like to see it as a permaculture art and sculpture garden with a social permaculture embrace. That's how we see it, and it's a dream, it's a vision for the future, and we go through the steps of retrofitting what was, my original gardens, and yeah, we're grading them a lot, looking towards, an old age future in a permaculture garden too. I'm mid 60s now, so it's,
Mm.
looking to how I grow old here too within a permaculture system and still be able to maintain it. And some of the invisible structures that I've focused on with my life are things like let systems and microfinance systems, which I'm privileged to be part of in the Mullaney community here, living in the community here and being part of our co-op board for the last 3 years up until recently. But also I'm immersed in permaculture as part of my life through teaching courses. I've just gone back to teaching permaculture design courses after a break of about 15 or so years, and we do that as a fundraiser for our community cooperative. But to go back to that, I taught about 30 of them in the early days from the late 80s for about 15 years. But mostly I've focused on doing group facilitation and teacher training courses, which you know because you've done one.
I most certainly have. I loved it. And I have your teaching permaculture creatively um, folder here that I've used in my PDCs that I've taught. I've got your creative process wildcards, which are all of the effective processes that really enliven facilitation and training. And I've utilized your permaculture principles card game. That one sits at the center of the first lesson of teaching the principles and the ethics. And I love how you brought in the spirit care and that kind of zone 0, 0 self aspect of design in that in those ethics or the values. But yes, thank you for sharing all of that. You have, when I look at the permaculture flower that David Holgram sort of shares, and so many people think that permaculture is just about the growing of the garden, but you're just what you speak of about succession as well and planning, your life and your time on your property. But you've incorporated or encompassed so many of the flower and through your teaching and just your way of life and engaging with community and the social aspects. I really see you as a world leader in the social permaculture realm, and I'm really excited to hear about your book if you can share that in this interview and a little bit later. But being that this is a topic of herbalism and plants, do you could you share with our listeners how you integrate plants specifically from a healing or a herbalism perspective into either your garden, your kitchen, or even perhaps it's in your community?
Yeah, yeah, certainly, because I guess plants is where I started in my permaculture journey. Just I went and did a permaculture course because I was living on the edge of the rainforest in northern New South Wales and trying to grow my own food, and I wasn't doing a very good job of it. And I've always been interested in herbs, so it's something that I did a lot of research about 40 years ago or so. And then just through using herbs and greens and all kinds of different plants, getting to understand more about them, their properties, their uses, and yeah, whether they were suitable for this climate or not.
Mm.
So I guess the ways that I use herbs in my life, I tend to eat lots of greens, lots of salads, and I always have herbs in my salads and flowers, some of which are from herbs, or probably all of them if I really thought about it. Um, I do a blend up most mornings when I'm being really good to myself. Occasionally I have breaks if I'm away, but I like to make a green smoothie in the mornings, and it's either a savoury one or a sweet one using fruit, whatever fruits we've got around in season. But I tend to, especially in summer and going into this time of year, I can still be picking moringa, Brahmi and Gotu Kola are all quite prolific in my garden at this time of year. The moringa is it's borderline marginal in the subtropics, but it does grow. It's come up in my garden, come back after winter for quite a few years now. So I think I can rely on it as something that I'm integrating into my food. And it's a tree rather than a herb, but I really think about it in terms of herbalism because it's so medicinal and healthful. And Brahmi is a beautiful little one that I only found out a year or two ago is a Australian native, which is quite fabulous to understand. And obviously, Gotu Kola is considered native to the subtropics and tropics of Australia and grows all through Asia as well. So there, I use them daily, and also I'm putting in things like Lebanese cress, Ceylon spinach, and bok choy, other greens that might be considered salad things. I'll just pump them into the blender. So that's a big part of my life. I also tend to process quite a few herbs out of the garden, particularly turmeric and lesser galangal and ginger. I'll talk about that a bit later because I've kind of chosen turmeric as my favourite herb.
Yeah, I'm so glad you picked that one because have, I literally have bins full of it. Like we've, those 60-liter bins that we make weed tea out of. We've had to empty that out, and we did a workshop recently, and just to be able to plant out our annual garden, we had buckets loads of turmeric. So let's segue into that then.
Can I just mention a few other things just things that I'm using regularly in the garden and the home, herbs and things like that. Um, like into salads, most people are used to putting parsley in salads and maybe cress and things like that. But I tend to use fennel quite a lot or lemon balm leaves, that kind of stuff. And I find the herbs just makes a salad pop. So to me, a salad wouldn't be a salad unless it had herbs in it. And I tend to use things like comfrey and yarrow and calendula in a first aid kind of context. And particularly comfrey, it's just so great for any kind of sprain or bump or anything like that. So they're probably my favourites, and we do make mixes as well. Like I use a dehydrator quite a bit to dehydrate any of your kind of Mediterranean herbs, or like I make a Italian herb mix, which I just love. Just masses of oregano and marjoram and parsley and that kind of stuff. So trying to dry as much of our own herbs for use all through the year as I can. Yeah. Thanks for letting me. I did make a few notes on your questions, so yeah, thanks for letting me share.
Yeah, you've got so much to share, and yeah, it's such lovely kitchen witchery there. All of the different, you're not just using it fresh; you're dehydrating and preserving it, and just so integrated into the culinary experience. But it's nice, yeah, to have the herbs to eat, but also to to apply in that first aid sense. They're just so versatile. It's really nice to hear. your share on that. So when it comes to turmeric, what have you got? Like, where? Tell me about your passion of turmeric and what you do with it.
Yeah, it was kind of hard to pick a herb because some of
Mm-hmm.
the ones that people have already talked about, comfrey's one of my absolute favorites because I just love using it in compost and that kind of stuff, and also as a first aid. But turmeric is probably the herb in my garden that I use the most, and I do the most kind of things with, and it's also beautiful. I find late spring when it's starting to come up and yeah, just the whole garden comes alive with not just turmeric, but the lesser galangal also waits till later in spring to come up. We've got a couple of different sorts of that one's very ornamental. But the turmeric, I love it raw, grated into curries, grated into salad dressings and that kind of stuff. But I also process it and dehydrate it. So it's a harvest. I love that kind of winter harvest. Anytime from now into winter. And I
Mm.
often weave some social permaculture into that and invite anyone from the community or neighbours around near Crystal Waters to come join me in a winter tuber harvest, I call it, but they're not just all tubers, but I'll share with people how to actually harvest them and then how I process some of them, and then people get to take little bits of rhizomes or corms or tubers home with them to grow themselves. So I don't know if you're interested in me sharing, beyond turmeric, the other things that I'm kind of harvesting
I
through
would
that
love
time of
that.
year.
Please do.
Okay,
Yes.
so
Thank you.
I have like two different sorts of turmeric, the yellow one and the gold, like orange one. Someone's told me there's a black turmeric too recently, which I don't have that. I'd like to learn more about that. So two sorts of turmeric. I've got two kinds of lesser galangal. One which is called Chinese keys is a common name for it, and then another one that's this beautiful variegated one that sometimes called Kankur in Thailand, and
Mm-hmm.
it has round white, um, almost like swollen roots, about the size of a 10 to 20 cent piece, and so I'm harvesting that at the same time as the turmeric, and I really like that one as well because when you dry it out and powder it, they use it in Thailand to put in peanut sauce and red Thai curries and things like that. I just used quite a bit of it last night. I made a red Thai curry for dinner, and I'm always putting the turmeric and the lesser galangal powder in there. But we're digging up like things like water chestnuts and the Sagittaria, they're both ready in winter. The ginger's ready, and the yucon's ready, those kind of things. So we go through all of those, harvest them all at once, clean them, some of them, sort them, grade them,
Mm-hmm.
replant. I'm always replanting back where we've harvested any of those things. Also getting a
Yeah.
few aerial potatoes at this time of year, but they just drop on the ground. Sometimes we'll dig up the main tuber because it's nicer.
The big ground apple. Yeah.
Yeah. Back to the turmeric, I'm quite fastidious with it. I make sure that we always peel it so that it's much more pure when it's dry. And then we slice it into small slices, put it in the dehydrator, then blend it in small quantities through a blender so it powders, put it through a sieve, and then what comes out the sieve is like our first grade. And you get a little bit left over that's like second grade that you just might put into curries, but the powder's there, and we always make enough to last for a year and to have a bit to give away. And I tend to make a few little jars of it, little 25-gram jars, so I can use it at our swapsies at Crystal Waters. Every few weeks we have a bit of a swapsies thing where people bring along their surplus produce or jams or pickles or kombucha or whatever people have harvested or made. So I like to do that with my excess herbs, and turmeric's the one where I usually have quite a bit, and perilla and yeah, whatever I can come up with. I tend to process more of the herbs when I've got woofers and volunteers to help. If it's just left up to me, I always do the turmeric and the lesser galangal, but the rest of it this year I want to do a reasonable quantity of ginger and make all our own ginger powder. That's my aim for the year. So yeah, processing it's a big part of my journey with turmeric. And when it's raw though, the other thing that I tend to use it for is to make golden milk all through winter. Don't know if you've ever made that, but
Mm-hmm.
grating fresh turmeric and fresh
Yeah.
ginger into a pot with I can get a litre of almond milk or something like that and put a litre of water in with it, then add some cinnamon, cardamom, star anise, and about a dozen black peppercorns, and then bring it to the boil, let it simmer after that for about 20 minutes, and then you've got this fabulous golden milk. It usually makes about 4 cups. So that's my personal golden milk recipe.
Oh, I'll be trying that. I've never put cardamom in mine, so that's my favorite Alexa, but I've been missing the cardamom, so thank you.
Just a little bit,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, and I'm told that for the turmeric to be really effective, it needs to have some black pepper to bring it out.
Mm-hmm.
So I always make sure I put that in.
Yeah.
And the other things I use turmeric for, it's such a great mulch too. When it starts to die down, I just cut it and use it as a mulch around the garden or chop it up as a layer in hot compost. Usually, the last hot compost before there's less biomass over winter to make hot compost.
Yeah.
Um, and I also like to pick the flower. My daughter's a florist and she highly prizes the turmeric flowers, and she'll often come hunting through my garden because I really have a lot of turmeric, more than I could ever possibly harvest and process. But I love it. It kind of holds a space in some of the gardens to just give some biomass there that doesn't need any maintenance or attention, really.
Yeah.
I'm careful not to have too much, but it's such a great one. But we always use the flowers. She'll come and pick some for her floristry, and I just pick some to have inside the house. And
Mm.
yeah,
Beautiful
there's
cut
some of the
flowers.
reasons why I love it so much. You've
Yeah.
probably got some turmeric stories too, I imagine.
Oh, it's a proper community food for sure. It's like a bit like the pigeon peas when the seeds are on. It's like, okay, who wants to come and be part of this process and take it home as well? Yeah, we've our dehydrator broke, so we kind of went into the blending, and mixing it with cinnamon and ginger in a jar with some oil and just
Mm,
storing it in the fridge and using it that way. But we've got the dehydrator now, so I'll definitely get back into the powdering of it. But yeah, before when you said you've got the chainsaw so that you're, utilizing the wood on site for your fires, we've got the machete and the kummer, and they're our favorite
mm,
tools here. And
yeah,
yeah, just the chop and drop that we can use turmeric for. And
yeah,
it does grow like a weed here. Like if there's a little bit of the corm left in the soil, it'll just pop up. So once we
yeah,
introduced it into our garden, it just returns. And yeah, like you said, in spring it's like, oh, look at the new little leaves. And yeah, this time of year, and it was almost exactly on autumn equinox. It was like, oh, look, the turmeric's telling us it's ready because it's the leaves are dying
yeah,
back. And yeah, and we kind of, it's planted in our food forest, but it's also, it just pops up. We have areas that are our winter, cool season, annual gardens. And then by the time spring comes and they've gone to seed, when the wet season kicks in, all the turmeric just returns. It just pops up. We don't really replant it in those areas.
mm,
So there's sort of two activities that happen through the year. And yeah, but yeah, I think we do supply the local and a local organic shop in Kuranda, and also down in Cairns there's an awesome vegan Snoogies cafe, and they usually buy our organic turmeric as well. But do you know the difference between the yellow and the orange? Like, is one more medicinal than the other?
Well, from what I've been told many years ago now, that the yellow one's more medicinal and the orange one's more culinary, but you
Ah,
can interchange them.
yeah.
Also, the other thing that I've realized fairly recently from people, naturopaths and people who work in the field a lot, that, you do get some benefit from turmeric, especially, as an anti-inflammatory.
Mm,
But I've been told that the amount of turmeric you actually need to be really effective would be too much for your body, like too much vitamin A, really. You overdose on it, and that they make the extractions they make to make pills out of it. They just take the curcumin
mm,
out of it,
mm-hmm,
and that's the thing that does the anti-inflammatory work. So to eat enough turmeric to do the potency that we're wanting for anti-inflammatory stuff is possibly not as good as we might imagine, let's
mm.
say.
You're definitely going to have yellow teeth and yellow fingers for a long time.
Yeah, and you can have too much vitamin A. It's not helpful. So it's, sometimes with herbs and with greens too, there can be just little cautions just to think about. Like I
Yeah.
know with, silver beet and a lot of your greens that are high in oxalic acid, like
Hmm.
kales and things like that, people are, on a whole fad of eating greens, but it's really good to be aware that it's not good to have too much of that kind of stuff raw. And so to cook them, So that's part of just herb law and,
Mm,
you know, learning to live with plants and doing as much research as you can. And I'm not saying any of that, you'd want to check that out for yourself, what I just mentioned about, but I had a herbalist really tell me, if you're wanting, because I've had a challenge with some inflammation in my feet and or one foot, and yeah, someone said to me, go to the health food shop and get the curcumin. It's going to give you more relief more quickly than just having lots of turmeric
mm.
powder.
Yeah. The
Anyway, it's
potency.
good to yeah, it's good to ask people with more experience than us and do the research in the literature and
Yes.
internet and stuff. I always check something out if I'm not sure. I'll go research.
Hmm. Yeah. Yes, there's like the home herbalism and, tonics, even with the gotta cola that you spoke about, just having a couple of a few leaves a day, not blending and making an entire smoothie out of gotta cola. Um, Usually it's forgiving. Your body will tell you straight away. You get that direct feedback with apply self-regulation and accept feedback. Is it working? Am I getting some other side effects happening right now? Am I visiting the toilet far too often? So the plants do talk to us very loudly at times. Uh,
Yeah, they do indeed.
okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so other than the turmeric, do you have another or an example of when you've utilized plants to improve your health, and what was that experience?
Yeah, I guess generally I always feel better when I eat lots of greens.
Hmm.
Um, and the green smoothies that I mentioned that I have each morning, and I change up the herbs and the greens that I put in there depending on what's seasonal. But I guess a couple of examples. When I remember being in Europe teaching courses back in the late 90s, and we'd gone from Mexico and Cuba and then into England, and we hadn't in Cuba there wasn't many greens. Like I remember getting to England and there was no salads or greens or anything served in our food or anything, and I just had a few weeks of not having as much salad and greens as I'm used to. And we were staying with a friend in Wales for a few days, and I just went walking out around where they lived, and it was fairly clean. It wasn't near roads or where anything would be sprayed, and I just, even with the herb law that I had then, I still was able to identify and pick about 5 different weeds just growing naturally that I could make into a little salad. And yeah, with calendula flowers, it was, or marigold flowers, I can't remember which, but I remember making up this little potent, it was tiny little potent salad, and probably had a bit too much oxalic acid in it, but it was, a dandelion leaf or two, and yeah, I can't remember now what was actually in it, but I remember feeling really proud of myself that I could find those things and knew that I could eat them.
Foraging feast. Was your body just like soaked it all up?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and maybe a couple of examples about different healthful and healing kind of diets and things like that. When I have been needing to detox my body, there was a couple of times in the last maybe 20 years that I've done what's called a Catherine Alexander detox diet. It's a woman who's very well researched in this field, and she actually lives close to Mullaney here, but she's quite world renowned for her research and her suggestions, and supports people with cancer and all kinds of pretty full on diseases to come back into balance with their diet and their body, and there's quite a bit of science behind it. But one of the aspects of it is to have no salt, no added salt, because, we're wanting our body to get a balance between sodium, potassium, and also a balance between calcium and magnesium. And if you get the right balance in place, then your body is building its momentum and becoming really vital again. And if you do this detox for 2 months, you've raised the vitality in your body and you've got the momentum happening, that if you keep going past that time for more months, your body starts to heal itself of anything. And so I guess because she lived in Mullaney and one of her book launches were here, and our local health shop was really behind her in what she was proposing, so many people around Mullaney use this way of eating. And I've heard fantastic results from people, and certainly experienced that for myself when I did it for 5 months when my son was a teenager. We did it together for 5 months, and I get migraines a lot just as a hereditary thing. And yeah, I didn't really get migraines hardly at all for that 5 months. So I do my best
Wow.
to kind of eat in the style of that, I guess. And part of where I bring the herbalism into it with no salt, it's like, how do you make something taste good without the salt,
Lime juice.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and one's palate adjusts after time.
Yeah.
It took about 3 weeks to be more okay with it, but I'd be just using bulk amounts of fresh herbs, lots of parsley chopped up, heaps of chives, heaps of, you know, lemon balm and all kinds of things, fennel, yeah, and then your Mediterranean herbs that I've dried and in the pantry and that kind of stuff. Yeah, and lots of lime juice, heaps of citrus juice, which isn't technically
Mm.
a herb, but yeah,
Oh, that's great and quite
yeah,
transformational for people. It's almost
yeah,
like it's easy to say don't eat salt and so that people eat, find flavors in the realness of food instead of saying
yeah,
eat all of these other things that might be new. People can get creative themselves.
yeah. And to clarify, you get your salt from the amount of vegetables that she suggests you eat, like
Mm.
huge amount of vegetables per day. So you're getting your salt from that and all the minerals that fresh organic veggies have. And the other time I've used herbs for like full on healing, I somehow managed to get like a bladder parasite when I was in Asia working at one point, and it was excruciating. It kind of bugged me for a year and a half, and in the end, I kind of went to a doctor and got a bit of a diagnosis, but they couldn't really work out what was going on. and they wanted to give me antibiotics, and I ended up taking some for the first time in my adult life, and they didn't work. It didn't
Hmm.
touch it. And I was seeing a naturopath friend of mine at the time as well around this, and she was supporting me with it. And I also saw a chiropractor for another reason, like more a kinesiologist kind of chiropractor. And he did this, he tested it, and he said, and how's your health generally? And I went, well, it's good apart from this thing. And I mentioned it. And he did some kinesiology around whether it was a virus, a bacteria, a parasite. And he went, you've got a parasite. It's a parasite. And so he was able to, so at least I knew what was
Mm.
going on, and then I could say that to my naturopath. And so she put me on this regime that was really intense, and yeah, she got my partner to go on it as well, so we weren't cross infecting each other. But it was a brew, a herbal brew to drink, and then she gave me these capsules that she'd made up for me out of cloves and mugwort, two different ones. And in the end,
Mm.
she just said, "Look, you need, you can make these yourself." And she told me where to get the capsules from, just from a chemist, vegetarian type ones. And then
Mhm.
she gave me the clove powder full of oil. You'd touch it and it was not liquid, but it was moist. It was so
Mm.
full of the clove oil, and then I'd make mugwort ones as well. And she had this whole regime where I have this many at this time after a meal, and then this many, and then after this many days, and it was very particular or specific, and it worked. It totally worked. And so yeah, I've always been totally a user of herbs for my health, but that showed me that it can heal something that modern medicine just couldn't even touch.
Yeah,
Mm.
you can lean into it and try try both, but it's yeah, the herbs speak for themselves, don't they? When we
Mm.
get that relief or can work through these challenging experiences. I ate some crab and had a really bad reaction to it a couple of months ago, and it completely messed with my digestive system and put me on a path of Ayurvedic cleanse, which has included a lot of turmeric, as you were
Mm.
talking about. So it's definitely that's an ally that I've been working with strongly lately. Yeah, just yeah, learning about yeah clove as you mentioned and ginger. This time of year, as things are cooling down, it's such a yummy. They're such yummy,
Mm.
warming, nourishing foods or plants that can really help us rejuvenate.
Yeah, I'd add garlic in there too as another one that I've used really potently in my journey for,
Mm.
disinfecting and healing. And the whole permaculture course that I did, that very first one when I was a participant, more like two-thirds of the group ended up getting sick with either a cold kind of thing or a tummy bug. And there were three or four of us who didn't. And we compared notes and we realized all of us on the day off, on the middle weekend, when we were out and about, had come back with a corm of garlic because we were missing
Oh,
garlic. The woman didn't cook with garlic, and who
okay.
was our cook, and we didn't get sick. And from that point, I was like, right, I know how
Yes.
powerful this plant is. That proves it.
Strong medicine. That's something that I can't grow here. I've tried multiple times. Can you grow it in your garden?
Yeah, just I'm not real great at it because I don't have enough like sun really.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple of the people here at Crystal Waters farm it in a more intense kind of situation, so they're more set up for it. But
Yeah, so
my
you can just
my
get it
gardens,
locally.
yeah, yeah, we trade it, and yeah, Yov, he's one of our cooks here. He grows a lot of it, and we can do a swap and that kind of stuff. It's great.
Excellent. We have a biodynamic farmer up on the tablelands that grows it too, and yeah, I just get it from our local organic shop. But yeah, so much garlic in our food for sure.
Yeah, we don't get enough sun in our particular garden. It's a bit too overgrown.
Yeah,
Yeah.
full of all the matured trees now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of
Yeah.
our potent herbs grow on trees in the tropics or subtropics because it's naturally a forested place. So, as you spoke about moringa, and even the yams and things, the aerial
Mm,
yam, yeah, we grow that. And it's,
yeah.
yeah, the vines and the leaves of plants. Lemon myrtle is something that we've been using a lot more lately as well. Just
Yeah.
they're everywhere once we start
Yeah.
building these relationships with them.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
oh, cool. Well, I love everything you've shared so far, and I know we could keep talking about it for a long time, but we've got let's stay on track here. And this
Yep.
question in particular, I know is going to open up a lot because you have lots of things happening that I'd love to share with our listeners. So, can you let us know what is alive and thriving in your life right now?
Yeah, yeah. When I thought about that, my head went straight to the garden. Like what's alive and thriving in my garden. Well, at
Mm.
this time of year, the garden is, around here, winter is a time where everything's much more productive. So that's totally where my heart and my passion is. And got a hot compost heap that I need to be turning for the first kind of turn tomorrow. So and I checked it, it's heating up nicely. So that's really cool. And I've got a compost tea aerating at the moment that I'm going to go home after this call and spread around the garden. We've just had some good rain, so it's good timing. I'll just water in after the rain and hopefully, introduce some extra potent microorganisms and bacterias and things into the roots of the plants.
Mm.
And um, it's kind of, the opposite in the garden at the moment in terms of, some things are dying down, like I mentioned, ready to harvest. But it's also a great time to maintain and catch up on things. So, garden wise, I'm more busy at this time of year. Probably the weather's kind, it's not too hot. Yeah, and there's lots to do and catch up on after. Well, we didn't have much of a wet season this year, but usually, there's heaps of biomass to tame. But yeah, I guess in terms of what's alive in my life generally, I've got my dynamic groups, teacher training group facilitation course coming up in July. I need to be spending a bit more time promoting that. So I'll be spending the next couple of weeks working on that because I've just put quite a bit of energy into supporting John Seed of Deep Ecology fame to come and run a Deep Ecology workshop here this coming weekend, which I get to co-facilitate with him, which is a blessing. I've known John for more than 40 years and Deep Ecology was part of my permaculture design course when I did it, and I always weave it into all of my permaculture design courses. So to dive in together with a group of 30 people for a whole weekend into the, depths of deep ecology, I'm really excited about that. And I'm also, yeah, still working on my book where I'm writing all of my learning methodology down, and particularly this first one's about the foundations of how we support groups to work well together, whether they're organizations or work teams or learning environments like courses. How do we set ourselves up in a really good stead so we're, able to succeed rather than possibly hit walls of conflict or challenge and problems and that kind of stuff. Yeah, that's always been really alive in my life, that how to help groups work better for change, I
Mm.
guess,
You
would
do it
be how
so
to.
well, so passionately. I highly, highly recommend your dynamic groups course. through my training with you, and then I've come and done a social permaculture weekend as well, or however many days it was. It's not enough because I'd love to spend more time in Crystal Waters with you learning. But when I first did my PDC, it was very chalk and talk. I had to sit and it was still rich, and I still learnt so much, and it was very inspiring. But when I learnt how to teach through in a more dynamic way with your methodology and meeting Elfie and just the way that you teach, like I did a training and assessment course, and it was the most boring course I've ever done. When I found out that you used to do it, I was like, I should have come to you. But it's so fun and engaging, and it's full body learning, and I've had such great feedback in my courses where people have gone, wow, the way that you facilitate. And I can honestly say that I didn't actually know that that was possible or had those tools until I came and learnt from you. So thank you for doing this work in the world and being such an inspirational teacher and an elder on my path. And I'm sure that would weave right into your PDC as well. So that's coming up when have you got your permaculture design
It's
course?
in August, 13th to the 27th of August, and it's already nearly half booked, so we can only
Oh,
take 20 people,
oh, hurry up,
and it's a
people.
fundraiser. Yeah, it's a fundraiser for our Crystal Waters Community Cooperative, so that's a great thing. Like, we all get paid, but any surplus goes to support the community here
Yeah,
that's running the village and the eco park.
a really special place to visit as well as part of the course to see, such a successful large scale eco village and all of the elements that you have there. It's such a beautiful center to be learning in.
Yeah, yeah, and we make the most of Crystal Waters too, in terms as a learning tool, really, as
Hmm.
well. Touring around, going to different people's places, seeing the different things that maybe you would just talk about otherwise, but we're able to show good examples of things and learn from some of the elders and the youngers here.
Mm. Yeah, it makes me
Yeah,
want to come and do my
we've got
third PDC.
yeah,
Even as a teacher,
yeah,
I love to take the time off in retreats and to learn. There's still so much more to learn. And just,
yeah,
I think when I'm with you, I'm observing how to teach as well. It's not just the content that I've heard before, it's the delivery
yeah.
of it. It's so rich. And John Seed, so was that when you were doing your activism work? Were you with John Seed at Torania Creek?
I came into Northern New South Wales just after Terania Creek was saved.
Uh huh.
So about that time, but when we found that we were trying to save a forest, some of them who were part of Terania Creek came across and gave us some hints and pointers and set us up with an ornithologist and, yeah, a botanist, and just, yeah, got us. Yeah, gave
Organized
some
and
of the past, yeah, fair shared, passed on some of their experience. So I think I met John, though, even during my permaculture design course. There was a session on deep ecology, and or straight afterwards, maybe it was the one afterwards, but he used to come. I used to cook for my teacher for years after that, and John would come every permaculture course and
hmm.
teach the deep ecology session. So,
Oh,
yeah.
great. And yeah, we just did Stephanie Hazel just interviewed John Seed in one of our recent episodes. So listeners can tune into that and hear his amazing journey there too.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Yes, he's such a wise, beautiful person. That's great that you've got him on recording too.
Yeah, just like you. And yeah, I love how you weave that into. I feel like the deep ecology was kind of embedded in even the creative teaching and the social permaculture workshops as well. And I think I walked away with this beautiful document that you made because you had just have so many incredible resources. So that gets me excited for when your book comes out. and just to see, how I think this is going to be such a big paradigm shift for groups working together. I personally have had the experience of, putting all of my love and intention into an organization or a business with, the best intentions and permaculture and all of these things. But unfortunately, sometimes it's like the people working together and understanding the goal and the aim and people's roles, and understanding strengths and weaknesses and conflict resolution and all these ways to work through, that's like, I'm, this one little aspect of it. But on a community sense and a global sense, we have to really be able to work together in these times to get through all of the challenges. And so that's, I'm counting down the days till your book comes out. I think I'll be one of the first purchasers of that and have that in my toolbox. But back to those resources I've got. Thank you for the 5 sacred things, and it's glued into my diary. And just, I see you as a person that sort of brings the elements and nature into, the reverence and the learning and the spirit care, and ourselves as such an important part of working with the earth and the fair share. And like the change starts with us and our connection to nature. And do you mind if at the end of this, if I do a little post recording of the 5 sacred things to share with people?
Oh, please. Yeah,
That's so
that would be
beautiful.
lovely.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, that actually, to do an acknowledgement of that,
Yep.
then I was invited to be one of the main people holding a wedding ceremony for 2 folks who got married here at Crystal Waters, maybe about close to 20 years ago now. And they were really inspired by Starhawk's novel, The Fifth Sacred Thing.
Yep.
And so they got the male holding space to read a section from the front of The Fifth Sacred Thing. And then they asked me if I would do some kind of blessing around the 5 sacred things. And so, right, just with that as a brief, I just opened, and that's what came through. And I did personalize it in each of the 5 sacred things. The later part of it has a little blessing, and so I would have the couple's name in there. And so I've used that in quite a few wedding or hand fasting ceremonies. But I also, the one that you would have,
Mm.
I'd say I made more general so it was usable for anybody, just to be able to make a prayer and a blessing, and yeah, feel our gratitude and our love for the earth and all beings.
Yeah, I just think it's such a beautiful way to set the scene for my PDCs, to really call it in. And I love it so much. Thank you. And
Mm.
and so
Oh, thank you.
yeah, and the diversity of what, you offer in the whole bigger picture of permaculture. So you also do a labyrinth. You have a regular feature at Woodford Festival. Can you just touch on that one too?
Yeah, yeah, sure. After well, I guess to say that 4 of us from here at Crystal Waters started the original chai tent at Mullaney Woodford Folk Festival that became infamous. We ran that for 23 years and then let that go. And chai's become a thing all around the country now. There'd only been one other chai business prior to that, and that inspired, one of the 4 of us. And then after a couple of years of just getting to go there and do it one presentation, I thought, oh, I really like doing a project at Woodford. And I had this design come through me of the Sacred Union labyrinth that I used to use in a relationship workshop I ran with my ex-partner Mark, and yeah, called the Love Feast is the whole process that I came up with for couples, and he was able to help me bring that to workshops with couples. And so that design, we would make it as a labyrinth in that workshop. And then I thought, oh, it'd be nice to do something like that at Woodford. Woodford needs a quiet retreat space where people can get out of the busyness of the festival and, yeah, have a walk, drop into their connection with themselves and their balance, place of balance inside themselves. And because I'd done the chai tent, Bill Horrocks trusted me to bring the Labyrinth project, and then the programmer supported me to set it all up, and they gave us a good budget, and these days we're a little mini department at Woodford. I'm the department head, and we have 14 of us do the build during the build period to set the whole thing up. And it's semi-permanent now, so people can walk at any time of year if they're going there for any of the smaller events, or the staff can walk it, or the tree huggers and maintenance folks who go there once a month can walk it. But yeah, then we dress it right up for the festival. But
Oh.
it's like, yeah, I guess it's like part of social permaculture, and
Mm.
we bring lots of plants in, some herbs, some edible things, but mostly ornamental foliage and flowers and things like that. But yeah, it still has that deeper permaculture underlay, and the social permaculture working together, the team, and the little ceremonies, the spirit care and deep ecology all working together as a beautiful installation. Yeah, thanks for asking about that.
Oh, I have not yet seen it, but I look forward to getting to Woodford one year, and that will be my beeline straight to the, the labyrinth.
Oh, I was just going to say we get to do 4 ceremonies with a live band, and then there's other acts in there, different, 4 or 5 different musicians or workshop type things that use the labyrinth. So yeah, it's a beautiful space. I hope you get to come sometime, Tennille.
Yeah, yep, it will happen. And so a great opportunity for people to come and meet you there. But I hope this interview's inspired our listeners to connect with you in your many offerings, but in particular your dynamic groups and dynamic learning. Um, I think that that is such a gift to the world, and yeah, you've got your PDC and especially a book. Did you want to touch on what your book is and why you've created it?
Yeah, sure. It's my life's work, I guess, of teaching and training and facilitating groups. And it was just going to be one main book with a few supplementary texts for special interest. But as I was writing it, it seemed to be getting so big that I split it into 2 books with 3 supplementary texts and just focused on the first one. And that was getting so big that I went, oh, this is nuts. I just need to break it down into a few mini books and just to get something out and finish. So this first one is the first of a series of 5 mini books, and it's called Dynamic Teaching and Facilitation, The Foundations.
Awesome.
And so then the second one will be Dynamic Teaching and Facilitation, in Unleashing Empowerment, I think I'm going to call that, or group and personal empowerment, probably. And then the next one is Unleashing Creativity.
Love it.
So they're smaller chunks, but they'll still be at least a couple of hundred pages each, the rate I'm going. Yeah.
Yeah, whole books.
Yeah.
Oh, great. Well, thanks for your creativity and your insight and for pioneering so much over the years in permaculture and even in things like chai. It's such a popular
Yeah.
thing now. Yeah, so much gold in this interview, all of the plant sharing, and yeah, it's great. I think I'm one of your biggest fans, but I hope that our listeners today can really hear what where you've been and what you've done and your impact in the permaculture world here in Australia and also around the world. Is there anything that you wanted to share before we say goodbye today?
Or maybe just to bring it back to the herbs and, some key things like know your herbs, use them, cook with them, smell them. and use the flowers.
Use the flowers. Yeah.
And remember to give thanks. Remember to be grateful for the beauty and for the nourishment and all that plants give us.
Yeah. Well, thank you and big gratitudes to you, Robin.
Yeah, thanks so much. It's wonderful to be part of this.
Now, with Robin's permission, I will read the elemental prayer of the 5 sacred things. As I begin, I invite you to relax and feel deeply into your body wherever you are. Be it sitting or standing, take a moment to ground and feel the earth beneath you. And using your breath and connecting to the air, taking a deep breath in and a relaxing deep breath out. Just breathing to your natural rhythm and using your imagination to see these elements in play in your life. Thank you for the element of air, for the wind and gentle breezes. Thank you for the breath of life, for the breeze on our skin and the air that flows in and out of our lungs to sustain us. Thank you for the clouds and the great air currents and thermals that sweep over land and ocean. Thank you for the birds, for clear skies and clear minds. May the freshness of wind and air blow greatly and gently into our lives today. May it enliven us and create a safe space for our words to flow. May our every breath be an inspiration. Thank you for the element of fire. Thank you for warming our homes, cooking our food, and lighting our way. Thank you for the sunshine, the starlight, lightning, and volcanoes. Thank you for our warm blood and for the spark within each of us. May the energies of fire inspire us today and fill our hearts with passion. May we always be warm from the inside out. Thank you for the element of water, for quenching our thirst and blessing our gardens. Thank you for the blood flowing through the rivers of our veins. Thank you for the oceans and all aquatic creatures. Thank you for the clouds, mist, and rain, for rivers, streams, and the dance of waterfalls. May the power and tranquility of water flow through us today and share its cleansing energy with each of us. May we never thirst, and may our feelings always flow freely with ease and honesty. Thank you for the element of earth, for our bodies, our flesh, and our bones. Thank you for the food which nourishes us and all that comes from the earth, the soil, seed sprouting, all the plants, trees, flowers, and fruits. Thank you for the animals, minerals, rocks, and mountains. May the earth bless us and support us in every step we take. May we never hunger. May our bodies be strong for tending the earth, for loving each other and working together for positive change. May we walk every step of our journey with integrity and deep respect. Thank you, Spirit, for divine essence and wholeness in our lives. Thank you for the power to create, move, change, and to transform. Thank you for joining us as we stand here today. Fill our hearts, fill our minds, fill our bodies, and fill our spirits with your many gifts and blessings. May we find the balance of love, wisdom, and power in our own special ways, and may our hearts be filled with divine love and light in every way, every moment of every day. Thank you. The Elder Tree is a not-for-profit organisation that is in the beginning stages of creating a grassroots herbal education centre and healing sanctuary in the Atherton Tablelands of Far North Queensland. To find out more, go to theeldertree.org and follow the journey on Instagram and Facebook. You can also donate to the Elder Tree via our podcast channel on Anchor or via the website. If you like the episode, we'd love you to subscribe. And if you know who we should interview next, drop us a line. See you next month, and in the meantime, may you grow them to know them and be blessed with good health and many plants.